I love that song.
It's really good.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Armchair QB Show. I'm your host, Bill Reed, the host with, well, sometimes the most.
I would say I'd be lying if you're the most.
I have some stuff. The most might be
the host with stuff.
Yeah, the least bad host.
Doesn't really rhyme.
Me no speak English good?
Really
that impossible. Mike Devine, America's Counselor.
I do, man.
The co-host.
I know.
Are you drinking a Rhine, guys?
I am, yeah, man.
That means
I'm armchairing it up, man.
Down in Cincinnati. That's where
I
it's
know.
from.
I'm all business when I'm doing, gray matters, but armchair quarterback dude. Armchair.
It was like the old mullet you used to have. Well, you didn't really have it, but if you did, it would be, business,
I imagined
business up front.
Yeah.
Party in the back. Did you happen to see that the fanny pack is making a comeback?
Dude, I have heard that many a times.
Ezekiel Elliott brought it back the other day at the Dallas Stars games, of all people.
I would make comments about Ezekiel and some of the things that he wears, but he's a very bad man, and I don't want to mess with him.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like he was bad as in...
Oh, no,
behavior.
he's just a badass.
I kind of felt like he got boned by the commissioner.
So,
look at Tyreek Hill from Kansas City. They're doing nothing about him.
All right, so...
I'm just going to jump right into it.
All right, now, I will say this. All right, so my colleague in Dallas was the neuropsychologist for the Dallas Cowboys, so he did all the concussion protocol testing.
Slow down, egghead. Yeah. I'm the armchair QB. You got to kind of dumb it down for the rest of us.
He was brain doctor.
Gotcha.
Brain doctor. He fixed head injuries. So is that clear?
That
when
now.
Football player head goes boom,
Smash.
lights go
Smash.
out, he puts lights back on.
Gotcha.
Okay. So he's affiliated with Cowboys, and he's actually a good friends with Zeke's dad. And I kind of asked him, like, dude, like, what's kind of going on?
What's the deal?
And all he goes, man, he goes, I can't talk about too much but we'll just say that when I texted his dad, asked him what was going on, his dad basically, long short, said, I don't know what's going on with that boy. And they alluded to there were multiple other things that the news didn't even know about.
Really?
So
with the woman?
Just
one?
everything. Just there's been a lot of things. Hell, there's things in Dallas that we all knew about that didn't hit national news. So he wasn't just suspended for what you knew about. He was suspended for what you didn't know about. And the thing is, to me, the validation of his dad was even wiping his hands clear, going, I don't know what's wrong with him.
Do you suspect, being a psychologist and being an armchair QB on top of it, so your opinion matters. Do you suspect that it was him being young and rich and dumb, or do you think that maybe there's something more to that, like underneath it?
We wrote an article, like this is when all the CT stuff started coming out about football players and their behavior and everything. Mm-hmm. The reality is, man, it's that a lot of these guys were doing a lot of things even before, like they've been playing for 5, 10, it's just...
They've also...
I think a lot of it
they're superstars. They've always been, since probably high school, put on this pedestal.
Yeah. They're playing a sport where it's gladiator sport, and so that
and they're really, really good at it. So it's...
you're gonna have some people that come from areas where it's like they didn't exactly were taught a lot of really
Well,
it's so it's just like you look at Johnny Manziel. He had the silver spoon up his ass. Kid never had any he had no consequences for anything. Kid became a raging drug addict. Kid is bipolar, and so did head injuries play into it? I mean, I'm not saying it helped, but he was going to have those problems anyway. You look at, so I look at a lot of these guys between how they grew up, maybe some undiagnosed problems, just the sport, how they were able to get out of trouble and never get any consequences for everything. It's just, it's a perfect storm for guys getting way too much money and being idiots. I mean, what would we have done if one of us like it was like Entourage?
Right.
We did dumb shit and we're broke. Imagine if we had money.
Well, you know what? And that kind of brings me to my point. Our guest today may or may not have a silver spoon up his ass. May or may not have a head injury.
He has something up his ass. I don't know if it's a silver spoon or not.
I think last night he had mayonnaise all over his pants.
But
that's
a
whole other story for another reason. I like to bring him in. Chavo.
What's up, Chav?
Welcome to the show. How you doing, my man?
Great to be here.
Good. Great to have you here.
I would say I want to apologize. I apologize publicly in text. Now, this, I was talking to Jill about this, Well,
You were
obviously it was
mad.
there.
You were mad about the Blue Jackets game last night, and I get it.
I was just messing around, and Phil was messing around, and I was trying to get Phil, and I was messing around. Like everyone that knows me, I get quite mischievous when I get drunk.
That would be Phil Murphy for those of you listening at home.
So I tried getting Phil with a mayo packet, and then
What do you mean get him with the mayo?
well,
packet?
I was stepping on it, and now I thought I was just gonna shoot and hit him. Like I thought I was just gonna skim the ground and like hit his shoes. But then what I didn't account for was this thing was really well made. Like Hellman's, whatever you did with that packaging, man, like if I need like something to be protected, I'm buying that packet. So kudos to Hellman's.
It sounded like a gunshot went off.
Dude, literally. So like I kept trying to bust it and it didn't bust. And then finally I put so much pressure on it, it busted out the corner. So it sliced like my golf shot. And it just like, I thought I'm aiming left. It just went right. And all I heard was like gunshot sound, and then Chavo's looking down. He's covered in mayonnaise.
How do you feel about that? I mean, honestly, like you're just standing there minding your own
Well, at
business.
first I looked down and then
You stood there in
realized I
disbelief.
might have ended up in a bad side of a porno video. But
You're like, wait a minute, I didn't know I was gonna be in the money shot. I wasn't even in the picture. Wait a minute.
yeah,
Given, yeah, it's
but
Oh,
all you could do is laugh about it.
yeah. But now the thing is, have I ever apologized for anything I've ever done to you? I told Jill, I'm like, I don't think I've ever apologized. She's like, you need to like pay his dry cleaning. I go, I'm gonna try. I go, but I'm hoping by just apologizing because I don't think I've ever apologized for anything I've ever done.
You're a good arguer. Like if you weren't a psychologist, I feel like you may have been a lawyer.
If that was me in the past, I would have argued maybe that like why it was Chavo's fault.
Right.
But this time I was just like,
you were in the way.
you were in a way.
You should have known better,
You
man.
blocked my shot.
Obviously.
blocked my shot.
Yeah, I
you
was
know?
trying to,
It's like my friends when they golf. Like I golf, they know not to line up to the right of me.
Sons of bitches.
Yeah, I felt bad. I'm not gonna lie. I think it's like one of the only times I've ever felt bad doing anything to you, Chavo. So
Well,
if I
at
have a
least it
heart-
washed out.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but no, we're happy to have you here, man.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm great.
absolutely, man.
It's awesome to be here.
How you been? Hanging in
doing
there?
pretty good.
Yeah, good.
So what do we got for the night, man?
Well,
what are we diving into? There's
You-
always something,
You
man.
started about suspensions and
Yeah.
Ezekiel Elliott. I mean, he got suspended. What has it been 2 seasons ago now? Which sucked because I had him in fantasy football that year, so I was really pissed. But Roger Goodell, I wanted to fight him that year. I wanted to go to his house and fight him. I was so mad. But while we're talking about Tyreek Hill from the Chiefs.
Have you heard the video? Have they even made it public, Chav? Have you heard it?
Oh yeah.
Is it bad? Is it?
All I know is right now that as of right now, as of this recording, the NFL has not taken an official stance on any way on this guy. No ruling. I think they're going to wait and see how it plays out in the legal process.
So, because the police didn't, they didn't file any charges, but
Well,
this
they're-
tape came
they're
out though after.
reinvestigating, yeah.
So what's Chava? You listen to what's on the tape?
He's admitting pretty much the fact that he has done things
Something.
to his kids
Yeah.
or his kid, and that he was involved, and he wanted to make sure that his child respected him.
And he made sure his woman knew it
And
too.
from what I understand is his woman or his girlfriend or wife.
It's his
I'm
woman.
not sure exactly.
Yeah, that's why I
what
call
it
her the
is
woman. I don't
between
know.
them, but this was an insurance tape
Oh,
that she had kept. She,
So she
recorded
recorded
it while
it.
they were
Okay.
going through Dubai's airport, I guess, talking about this.
Dubai. Interesting.
Yeah, they were on vacation or out of the country, but this was something that she kept and didn't release to the police
hmm
immediately.
And no offense to Dubai, but that shit's probably legal over there. You can.
Oh, listen, yeah, it's
Unfortunately, yeah.
Well,
So yeah,
it is
so,
what it is.
And from what I heard is that so at first like I think the Chiefs were like, well, I mean,
They've suspended him from all
but then
activities.
the second they heard that tape, it was like,
Yeah, they've suspended him.
Instantaneous.
Like he's not allowed. I believe he's not allowed at the facility. Like I think he's still getting paid, but they're just like, you know what? Don't call us. We'll call you, and we're kind of just.
and that dude was in line for a monster
Well,
payday.
After what happened with what Kareem Hunt?
But you know, this
Can
is
you blame the Chiefs? Are just like, what is happening?
But you know what?
What is
but
going
this
on
is-
in
this
Kansas
is-
City?
But this is Andy Reid. Andy Reid.
Well, but you can't predict. You can't predict.
No, Andy Reid. This is what he brings in.
Now hold
players
on. Now
very
hold on. Wait a
questionably.
minute. Now He's he's former coach of the Eagles. You're a diehard Eagles fan. You may or may not have an axe to grind. True or false?
No, I actually, I was happy. I was really pulling for the Chiefs in to get into the Super Bowl.
I know, but I'm talking about Andy Reid. I'm not talking about the Chiefs.
You know what? Andy Reid, he made the Eagles relevant again.
He did.
I thought he had many opportunities where he could have won a Super Bowl because of poor coaching, but he still was a solid coach, and he was better than anything we ever had, right? And it was time for him to go. I didn't have any necessarily ill will per se, but I was tired of it, right?
All right.
But Andy Reid, this is his teams where it's very much an enabling. He gets these people in there where just, I'm not surprised that this is an Andy Reid team.
I think football in general and sports in general can be an enabling environment. What say you, Chavo?
It's hard to say to put all the blame on Andy.
You can't.
Just because you have to look at who their GM was, and he's the GM of my favorite team right now.
And who would that
my
be?
GM brought in
the Cleveland
Kareem
Browns?
Hunt, yes. Yeah. Right after being suspended, giving him a contract 1 year.
Well, I'm not saying people don't deserve a second chance. I'm not saying that, but
you can't always just look at a guy and be like, well, he's going to end up doing this.
Well, I think from what I understand, so I was talking to a couple people about this, sports psychologists that are pretty big, like they're always brought in with culture of the team. From what I understand, I guess not every team is set up like this, but the majority of teams, when you have a very clear GM coach, right, is that the GM, whenever there's players of very questionable character, it is a coach's decision. It is a coach's decision to basically go, do you want this guy on your team? Can you maintain it? How's it going to help that?
Be.
Yeah, as it
in
should
my
be.
opinion, because he's the one that's going to interact with them day to day.
And that's where I look at probably if it was a GM going, listen, these guys are very questionable, but their talent is undeniable. Can control it? Can you bring him into this environment and enable him to be all right? And it's like, I think he made that choice. Now, given those guys were beasts. Look at it. If Kareem Hunt is on that Kansas City Chiefs team, they're in the Super Bowl.
Probably, because they were
a different team because it all fell on Kaepernick, and you saw where they were a different team.
Did you say Kaepernick?
Oh, I'm sorry, Mahomes. Yeah.
I caught some shit last week when you were talking about the wrong Ohio State quarterback. By the way.
Oh, well, I was talking about Dwayne.
Yeah, but you mentioned JT Barrett.
Yeah,
which is force of habit.
Yeah.
They're both phenomenal college quarterbacks, but
yeah.
Well, that's why I'm here to correct all your mistakes.
Yeah. Well, I do make mistakes,
Well, you're the producer. You can just edit that out.
I could have, but that would have been wrong.
I agree.
I fucked up the name, yeah.
It's censorship.
I don't know why.
That's not what this country's founded on.
I know.
Would you agree, Dustin? It's not what it is.
No.
Now, speaking of Dwayne, did you see that reaction during the draft when the Giants picked, was it Daniel Johnson? Is that his name? Or Daniel...
I'll tell you what.
His reaction was classic, I think.
And I'm not saying that he won't be a good quarterback because he might end up being the man. He really might be. But I can tell you that I don't know. I mean, a quarterback from Duke, and I like Duke, but Duke is a smart school. Duke is not known for having football players. They are known for having good basketball players. It's not a football school. They have gotten better in the last couple of years, no doubt. I mean, they have just, it reminds me of UNC. UNC as a college school as a football school has gotten better. They're getting better. It's just, but it's
your own boy. Yeah, a quarterback came from.
That's right.
Yeah,
exactly. That's exactly my point. Daniel Jones is who you're talking about, by the way.
Is.
But I don't know. I think it's gonna be one of those things. They look back in 10 years from now, and either they're gonna go, "That was a genius move," or they're going to go, "What the fuck?"
Here's what I don't get. All right, remember when we used to work at Wyandotte Lake and we had the weight, the strength machine where you'd hit it in the mouth.
Striker.
And so the thing is, like, it'd be this is I was even in psychology at this point. I was a student of this, like, making fun of people, I guess. And I remember we'd sit there and watch, like, you watch this big dude, all right, swollen dude, kind of get up there and he's trying to press some girls, and you look at him like, this dude's about to kill the fucking machine, right? And he'd hit it, it'd be like
the striker machine.
Yeah,
that game was electronic. I'm not saying it was rigged. I'm saying it wasn't legit. And what I mean is, like, and what I mean by that is, first of all, they didn't care if you won the prize or not. It was a booby prize.
Yeah.
You paid $2. The prize that you won cost them 25 cents.
Yeah.
they didn't care if everybody won because they made money.
It was just the.
But it was an electronic thing. It wasn't. I don't even understand. Like you could have hit it really hard, and I could have hit it really soft, and depending on which day it was and how it was set, it was going to be the same. Like,
Well, it was just a juxtaposition of
entertainment.
Like, it was just a juxtaposition seeing some big dude you think is just going to kill it, and then he has nothing, right? And to me, that you look at Daniel Jones, right? The dude is like 6'5", right? And he's built like a quarterback, looks like a quarterback, smart dude.
He is a quarterback.
Yeah. The dude has the weakest arm in the draft.
They did mention
he had
some
worst.
problems.
So how do you have a dude that's that big?
But the GM allows. But you got to understand though, the GM in the New York, the Giants. I mean, look who they just got rid of recently.
But
exactly, they got rid of a guy that my team has picked up. That's going to be amazing. And what is it, Gettleman?
David Gettleman, yeah.
He has this idea of his prototypical team and players, and he looks at a guy from Duke. He comes from, per se, like a Ivy League-ish school, and he's going to be this upstanding model citizen. Well, why would you pass on a guy like Dwayne Haskins, who has the arm? He's shown that he could be somebody.
Maybe he interviewed better. Maybe he just had a better feel. I
think he messed up.
No, I think you're right. And I know we're homers. I get it. Being Ohio State fans, I understand that. But I think just talent-wise, I can honestly say, in my opinion, Kyler Murray, I like you. I like him as a person. I think he's a really good person. I like Jones. I mean, I don't know anything about him, but I'm sure he's a nice person. But talent-wise, but maybe they thought he was just a better fit.
There was there was no good quarterbacks in this draft. Honestly,
Haskins is a good quarterback.
Dwayne is good, and
Murray, I think was it
the dude that Denver picked up, Locke? They're saying that he's supposed to be like one of the sleepers of the draft.
Dude, I'm telling you, it's just like anything else. You don't know what's gonna
You really,
happen.
honestly,
you think you know. That's why you draft him.
Very rare. I mean, I think that the draft where like the Eagle, like that draft, like it was like you had your pick of amazing quarterbacks. You had Wentz. You had who was the guy who you had Goff. It's like you don't have drafts like it all the time.
Let me ask you, Chavo. Since you're a biased Browns fan, but it's been a long enough time now. I think you can give me an honest answer. Let's go back 20 years ago. Let's go back when Tim Couch gets drafted #1 overall by the new. Hold on though.
Bring him back.
Tim Couch broke every NCAA record out there was. I mean, he was a phenom. Let's say he doesn't go to the expansion team Browns. Okay, to be thrown out the lamb to slaughter. Let's say he goes to a New York Giants team or an Arizona Cardinals team, an established team that's not great, but they don't have a bunch of. Does he make it in the league? Because I feel like he had talent, and people are like, oh, he was a bust, and maybe I know he's considered a bust, but I kind of feel like almost any quarterback that would have gone there at that time to any expansion team, you are hurting. You have no line, you have no defense, you have nothing. Nothing.
I don't know. I have a.
What's
I'm curious. I want to get your thoughts.
Because you're a Browns fan. What's your honest opinion? Had he gone, and I just use Tim Couch for example, had he gone to where the Giants are today or the Cardinals are today, do you think that he would have actually made it in the league at least a few years?
To plenty of other teams, yes. But because he was going to a brand new franchise.
It had nothing to do with the Browns.
It was a brand new franchise.
It absolutely
They were only able to pick up players through free agency.
And we all know this.
Do their selections. So it wasn't a strong team. They didn't have the receivers, the linemen to protect him.
It wasn't a destination spot for free agents.
But what we were watching, I think I was watching a 30 for 30. And the thing is, like, he had a torn UCL. He hid that from everybody. That was the thing. So it was one of the things.
Just remember that their owner really, he did not care about this team. He was completely invested in the European Soccer League. He had inherited this team from his father,
and
he did not care about it.
Was it? Might be right. That sounds right.
And he didn't care about this team. He didn't want anything to do with it, and that's why he doesn't own them today. He sold them to a guy who came from the Pittsburgh organization and is trying to make his own footing now. And He's found the guys, and they might be on a track, but we'll see. But that organization for so long was owned by a guy who did not care very much about anybody on the team. And you can look at all of the players who were not taken care of, who ended up with, staph infections because the facilities weren't cleaned properly.
Yeah, it was Charles Bentley.
Yeah,
That's right, towards ACL.
they brought him
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
I mean, it ended his career. He was supposed to be the Browns' pillar,
Yeah.
and it just ended his whole entire career.
You do look at the Browns. Any organization is
Yeah.
how you take care of your players,
Well,
and
they were an expansion team. Is my point though? It all matters sometimes. All that matters is where you fall to what team, and when you fall to that team and what their objectives are and where they're at as an organization. But that's neither here nor there. I don't know. That's my opinion. I know we kind of went off on a tangent there, but another thing, kind of a segue I wanted to talk to as well, and I wanted your opinion as well, was the Kentucky Derby just happened. Now, Chavo, you are probably the best horse racing, expert that I know of. What is your opinion on what happened with
do you really know? Do you really know stuff about horse racing?
He does.
I wouldn't
did
say
not
I'm
know
an
that.
expert, but I've been going to the track for a long time here
Maximum
in Columbus,
Security
Ohio. For
was what
long time.
DQ'd.
See, what? How egregious was it? I mean,
Before we jump into it, let me ask you, how rare is it for you, to your understanding, how rare is it for a horse to get disqualified?
Well, it doesn't happen very often.
Like
I
one out of
believe this is
100?
the 140.
what's like the first time?
145.
It was the second time in 100.
145th.
Yeah, second
And
time in
that's
history.
never been a disqualification in the race. And what occurred is it was a very sloppy track.
It was.
And
It's a mutter.
there's a lot of things
We
that
talked
can
about
occur
that.
in that, but whether he tried to or not, he left his lane.
Which I didn't
And
know that you had to
when
stay
he
in your
did
lane.
that, he imposed, I think it was, what was it? I can't, blanking out now.
But he did something.
He got in the way, and the front leg of that horse.
Yeah, I
hit
saw
his
that
back leg,
footage. Yeah,
which then caused him to have to slow down. So when that happens, not only does that impede him, but it impedes everyone else.
and see, I thought
and
that was
this
just kind of
wasn't-
went with the territory.
Well, a lot of times the steward, the person who looks over the race footage and everything that occurs, he would make the inquiry. Well, this wasn't an inquiry by the steward. This was actually an inquiry by Country House, who won. And by watching all the video and the replay, Country House really was not impeded. But
They ruled
Country
on it.
House made the inquiry because think about how much more money that was if they
Oh.
took first. And
65 to 1 odds.
and it's not the odds don't matter.
I know,
It's-
but
it's all about the purse.
But right.
Because the purse is millions of
Now-
dollars.
Let me ask you this. Now, what about the person who bet on the winner that was disqualified, maximum security, and they crossed the finish line?
Oh, well, they were saying that after that, and they called it, that there was hundreds of people walking around Churchill Downs picking up race slips just looking because they figured people threw them down on the ground.
Somebody did.
Like they didn't win. So there were people just walking around picking up all these
That's a good
slips,
thought. I wasn't
trying to
thinking of
look.
that.
Yeah.
I was thinking of like who are the people that bet on maximum security that were like, winner, I won. Round of drinks on me. Pop the bottle. Pop the
$2
bottle.
bet, $135.
I just won $50,000. Everything's on me. They start pouring the drinks. A few minutes go by. Actually, it's still under review, and all of a sudden you're like, oh
Well, and that's
boy.
and I get because me being the more of a racing and IndyCar fan, where you have some rules where it's like blocking, like you can get like one move,
But I feel
but
like
if
you
you
can
straight up
control that as
block-
a driver. Can you control that
well,
as a
the
jockey?
blocking, and that's the thing of like in racing, it's like you get like one move,
Mhm.
but then if you make another move and it's like blatant, like it will make a big difference because you have to get off the gas because you're going to run into them, right? So, and that's where I was just like, was it something like that? But Chavo, what you're saying is, it's like, yeah, he got into him, but it wasn't enough to close the gap. It wasn't anything that was really going to change the outcome.
He impeded War of Will, who was
Fell back,
the
what,
horse
seventh?
directly,
Yeah.
involved. But for the most part, I don't believe it was the jockey who did it. It was more or less probably
Bad track.
circumstance of
It
track,
seemed like
the
a bad-
horse running, and the horse feeling the track out and feeling that he had to move to protect himself, just like any human would have been running a race.
Well,
or
that
felt
track was
something.
horrible. I mean,
Yeah.
it was so,
Oh,
I've never seen
It was very sloppy.
Well, they said someone's even saying that I don't know what horse. I don't know if it was the maximum security where it hadn't raced in front of the crowd that big, and that one of the horses was actually moving lanes away from the crowd because it was just too much, and that they said that even played into it. And that's where you're talking about animals here, and if that was like an Indy car, and you controlled the car to do it, then it's like. Yeah, all right.
Right.
It's probably going to get penalized.
You have an animal.
Yeah, it's like an animal, and it's like, damn, like that is a bold decision to make. And it's one thing if it was like that big of a gap.
Right.
When that dude, and that horse was just,
cut him
it
off,
was
I
like,
get it.
yeah, I mean, it was a pretty stout
All right.
victory.
Now,
Honestly,
now-
from my rewatching of it
Mhm.
over and over again, if I can be honest, the impediment that did occur, I don't even believe Country House would have ended up in the top 4.
Yeah.
So is it like a tradition thing though, where it's like, well, if you don't call this, then it's gonna. Is that really what it
It
was more
leads to
about?
other
Then
things.
It was, I think, for the steward that had to rewatch it over and over again, that
For like
was
15
probably
minutes.
the most
Yeah.
difficult decision he's ever had to make in his life, because this is the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah.
This is the gold standard of racing. I
Now,
mean, you have the Preakness, you have the Belmont, but the Kentucky Derby is the start and end of everything. There's nothing more prestigious than this
Exactly.
race.
and
right.
rules and tradition, and everything. Because you see it with golf, where it'd be like messed up. It'd be like a random bird flew overhead, and it's like, sorry,
Well,
it's
you-
just what the
I
rules
mean,
are.
You know,
you can't change
it's
it.
such a such a regal event that so many people go to. I mean, I would probably guess that 80% of the people there, it's 150,000 people, are not race fans. They're there for the pageantry. They're there for the drinking. They're for the partying. I mean, look at the infield, right? Don't they have like a lot of people?
Oh, yeah.
Dude, I got to tell you, I've seen some videos on YouTube of some people drinking it up, having a good time. I saw one guy diving into a giant trough urinal on no doubt on a bet, right, at the end of the Kentucky Derby. Oh my God, it was one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen in my life. He swan dives into this giant trough. I mean, this trough is like 20 yards long, and he does it because someone's paying him some money. And I'm like, what is happening in America? Not to get off on a tangent about urine, but just from my own experience, I go to a urinal at my day job. I go to the urinal at the movies. I go to the urinal at a bar. And there is so much pubic hair in the men's urinal. Dude, I know you've seen it. I know you've seen it.
I've seen it.
What, gentlemen, I'm going to direct this to you out there, all you listeners out there. What is the deal? You have hairs on your pubes that are longer than hairs on my head, and I know I shave my head. You have hairs longer than my hair on my beard. What is going on? It looks like a freaking goddamn Sasquatch took a piss. Are you ripping this out of your pubic region? Why is there so many of them? Chavo, Mike D, tell me. And I'm not
asked
saying
this-
you guys. It's called manscaping. Do it. Look into it. If you're not doing it, I go in there. It's disgusting. It's any bathroom I go to. It's not just one or two. Wherever I go, there's just a bunch of them all over the urinal.
I asked
don't
this
get it.
myself. It's like my dogs. It's like,
What am
are
I missing?
males just shedding pubic hair all over?
What are you doing when you're taking a leak?
I'm always been someone at Manscaped, so I don't understand. But then I also understand, like, well, maybe just in that
Dude,
region, the
some of
hairs
these are
become
so
extra
long,
brittle.
though.
I mean,
It's not just there's
geez.
one there. Okay, there's like 10 of them there, and you can tell they're different, which is disgusting. So there's been multiple guys in there, and some of them are like long. Like what? What? I don't know. It looks like
It's almost like they're plucking
it
themselves
looks like
at the toilet.
It looks like you jerked off a goddamn gorilla. I don't know what's going on in men's rooms today, and I'm a man.
There's men in woolen sweaters getting kicks off of things we'll never understand.
Men in tights.
Yeah. It's funny. I remember I went to Indy. My dad and I used to go out to the 500, and I remember the first time going out there and went to go to the bathroom. It was like troughs.
Yes.
Just a fucking
That's what
line.
that's what
And
the
I remember
derby.
sitting there being like mortified, but then also, is this like a man test? Like, I didn't want to say anything. Like, I'm not comfortable with
It's
this.
a
I'm
man
like,
test.
I guess I just got to do it and be uncomfortable and just do it, And it's
Yeah.
just, ugh,
It's a test.
Well, it's
What can you do? Last thing I want to talk about real quick, but we'll wrap it up here, is there's a new Joker movie coming out. You guys seen the trailer for this? Looks fantastic. It's got Joaquin Phoenix.
It looks great in it.
I tell you what, man. It doesn't look like your standard comic book movie. It looks really good. I mean, it reminds me of Taxi Driver.
Yeah, I mean, it has that whole feel about it that it's going to have a nice drama
Well, he has no
and a
superpowers.
real good
The
backstory.
Joker has no superpowers. And I don't think this movie's going to be any different.
insanity and sociopathy is a superpower in some circles.
Superpower?
Hey, imagine not be able to do anything and not have any remorse for it
That's true.
and actually enjoy it. That's a superpower.
Maybe. You're America's counselor, so I will go ahead and.
I think it's all going to come, at us because we all have that feeling of loss or pain or hatred, and that this is what he is going through from what I've seen, and this is what gives him his desire to become who he is.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to really touch base with a lot of people. It looks like a really good movie.
It looks like a really good movie. He's a really good actor. I think is going to be a winner. I really do. I think it has the potential to be really good. Now, they can do a lot of amazing things with trailers, so you know how that goes.
Yeah, I ain't gonna watch it.
And that's why I love you.
Dude,
you'll tell me.
how many fucking Jokers have there been recently? All right, I understand Heath Ledger, you can't, but dude, there's been 50 fucking Batman. Come on, all right, make a new movie.
I know you're anti.
But this is the first Joker movie
but
without Batman.
Stick with Jared Leto then. And the thing is, why make another fucking Joker Batman movie? There's enough.
Batman's not in this one. I don't think the
new.
Batman's in this one. This one
It's
is
his universe.
This one is set in the early '80s.
It's the same universe.
Yeah, I know.
Seriously,
they can't use the Jared Leto version again because the Suicide Squad director is actually being sued by a South African rap group that he actually used a bunch of the tattoos that they put all over him and the way he
I
goes
did
about
hear
himself.
about that.
Have you ever seen the movie Chappie?
I've never heard of Chappie.
Oh yeah, the robot one, right?
Yeah, well, the girl and the guy, the lead actors, besides the robot,
I didn't know you could sue over tattoos.
they're actually a rap.
I have no
group,
tattoos, but
and
I'll keep that in
South
mind.
African or whatnot, but they actually helped design Jared Leto's character in Suicide Squad, and they can't use him again because of the lawsuit because they used their
likeness, tattoos, copyright, whatever it is. Yeah,
without giving credit or paying them.
You gotta have permission.
I just make new fucking movies.
I know.
Yeah,
it's come on.
I give them passes on comic book movies because I like there's so many different takes on it, so to speak. But I see your point.
I mean, what about Ass White Boy? I would rather make that comic book than another fucking Joker. I mean, there's a whole universe of other comic book heroes. I mean, I'm just saying
that will be our guest next week. As a matter of fact,
proctologist boy.
I'll say one thing: I can't
Cosmo
wait
Kramer.
to see Endgame when I can actually get a darn ticket.
Jesus,
Jeez.
And I've not seen any of those.
Avengers Endgame.
Really?
Never.
Who would have thought?
I gotta see it. I gotta finish everything off.
Spoiler alert. Who would have thought that the Hulk was actually Iron Man's father?
Oh no!
Oh my God!
Now
Thanos came out of nowhere.
Spoiler alert.
Not really. I haven't seen it.
So what's the over under? How many years before they remake the Avengers? What, 2 years? They're already making it now.
Like Spider-Man.
Yeah. And it should be made with 80s B movie stars. I would see that shit.
Beyond
Gary
a law.
Coleman as Iron Man.
There should be a law. You have to wait at least 15 years before you remake.
I mean, shit. They remade
darn
Spider-Man
action
1 year after that, and I think they're remaking it again. Now there's a side universe.
We're getting out of hand here.
That's fucking stupid.
On this note, gentlemen, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up.
Do we have
what do you
to?
think? Yeah, to be continued. Like any good feud, it's going to keep going. So I think next week we're just going to keep talking more about this. I want to talk about playoffs. Playoffs?
I want to start a fight on one of these shows.
Oh.
Somebody needs to get their ass beat.
You want to bring
on air.
someone on here and just like jump them?
Oh no, one of us has to beat the
Oh.
other up. Yeah,
All right.
that's
sounds
only
good.
be good.
I could use it.
Well, everybody, for myself, for our guest Chavo, thanks for being on here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. For America's Counselor on the Reporters Network, Michael Devine of Gray Matters Radio, I'm your host, Bill Reed, saying thank you again for joining us, and we will be back next week for more. You're welcome. Thank you, and have a great day.